It started in a place far from Poland, a long way from the fighting. This was in Persia, what we call Iran today. It was 1942. World War II was raging. But for a group of Polish soldiers, something unexpected happened. They found a bear cub. A small brown bear cub. He was alone. His mother was gone. Some local boy found him first. He had bought the cub from a hunter. The cub was tiny. He could fit in a soldier's arms. These soldiers were part of the Polish Second Corps. They had been through a lot. They were Polish men who had escaped Russia. They had been imprisoned, sent to labor camps, and then released. They formed an army. They were on their way to fight for freedom. They were traveling across the Middle East. They were going to join the British forces. Their journey was hard. It was long. But then they met this bear. It happened near Hamadan, Iran. The soldiers were on a train. A young boy approached them. He had the bear cub. The soldiers were curious. One soldier, Irina Bokevich, a young refugee girl traveling with the Poles, felt bad for the cub. She thought he was cute. The soldiers decided to buy him. They traded some Persian money, maybe a can of beef. The exact price isn't really the point. They took the bear. The cub was very young. He couldn't eat solid food yet. The soldiers had to feed him. They used an old vodka bottle. They put condensed milk in it. They made a makeshift nipple. The cub drank it up. He loved it. They named him Wojtek. It means joyful warrior, or he who enjoys war in Polish. A fitting name, maybe. Wojtek became part of the 22nd Artillery Supply Company. This was a specific group of soldiers. They moved around a lot. From Iran, they went to Iraq, then to Syria, Palestine, and Egypt. Wojtek went with them. He was like a baby brother. He needed constant care. He slept with the soldiers. Sometimes he slept in a crate. Sometimes he slept right next to someone. He grew fast. The soldiers loved him. He brought a bit of light to a very dark time. They were in a war. They were far from home. Many had lost their families. They faced danger every day. But they had Wojtek. He was a distraction. He was a friend. He was a mascot. He learned quickly. He learned to trust the men. He learned their voices. He learned their smells. He learned their routines. He learned to play. He was a playful bear. Bears can be very strong. Even as a cub, he had power. But he was gentle with his soldier friends. They taught him tricks. They taught him to wrestle. He would pretend to fight them. He would attack them gently. They would laugh. His diet changed as he got bigger. No more just milk. He started eating other things. Fruit was a favorite. Honey, of course. Jam, marmalade. But he also developed a taste for soldier food. Rations were sometimes dull. Wojtek made them more interesting. He would sit with the men. He would share their meals. He was not a wild bear anymore. He was a tame bear. He was a soldier's bear. The soldiers looked after him. They took turns feeding him. They bathed him. They played with him. They cleaned his living area. It was a lot of work. But they didn't mind. He was family. He gave them something good to focus on. He gave them hope. He gave them a reason to smile. He traveled with them through desert landscapes, hot, dusty places. He saw many different camps. He saw different people. He adapted. He was an unusual sight, a bear with an army. Other units, other armies, they all noticed him. He was a curiosity. He was a wonder. And he was Polish. He was their symbol. He was their friend. This journey across the Middle East was not just about moving troops. It was about forging bonds between men, and a bond between men and a bear. Wojtek started as a helpless cub. He became a companion. He became a part of the unit. He was one of them. He just happened to be a bear, but for the soldiers, that didn't really matter. He was Wojtek, and that was enough. Wojtek grew into a big bear. He was a Syrian brown bear. He got strong. He weighed a lot. He wasn't a cub anymore. He was a full-grown animal. But he still acted like a friendly dog or a mischievous child. He still loved his soldiers. He developed some specific tastes. His favorite drink was beer, not just a little sip. He liked whole bottles. The soldiers would share their rations with him. They'd give him a bottle of beer. He would drink it down. He liked it cold. Sometimes he would even smoke cigarettes. Not really smoke them, though. He would take a lit cigarette in his mouth. He would puff on it. But he never inhaled. He just liked the show. He liked the attention. The soldiers found it hilarious. It was a funny trick. It made everyone laugh. He still wrestled with the men. He was very strong. But he knew how to play. He knew not to hurt them. He would put his paws on their shoulders. He would push them down. It was a game. He enjoyed it. And the soldiers enjoyed it too. It was a way to let off steam. It was a way to forget the war for a moment. Wojtek had a playful side. But he also had a protective side. He was smart. He learned about the camp. He learned about the people. One night, a thief tried to get into the ammunition tent. The tent was important. It held the weapons and bullets. Wojtek was nearby. He heard something. He went to investigate. He found the thief. He grabbed the man. He held him down. He roared. The soldiers heard the noise. They came running. They found Wojtek with the thief. The thief was very scared. Wojtek had caught him. This made Wojtek a hero. It showed he was more than just a pet. He was a guard. He was a protector. Another famous story involved a shower. Wojtek loved water. He loved to bathe. One day he found the communal showers. No one was there. He decided to take a shower. He turned on the water. He was enjoying himself. Then, some soldiers came in. They didn't know he was there. They saw the water running. They saw a big, furry shape. Like, they thought it was something else. Like, they were startled. Wojtek was just being Wojtek. He just wanted a bath. These stories spread through the company. They became legends. They made the soldiers proud of their bear. He had a huge impact on morale. The soldiers were far from home. They faced danger. They felt fear. They felt lonely. But Wojtek was always there. He was a big, cuddly friend. He made them smile. He made them laugh. He reminded them of home, maybe. Or just of something pure and good. He was a symbol of hope. He was a symbol of their unique situation. A bear in an army. It was crazy. But it was true. Wojtek had a strong bond with a few specific soldiers. Private Henryk Zacharewicz was one. He was often the main caretaker. He fed Wojtek. He played with him. He spent a lot of time with him. They understood each other. It was a deep connection. These men were his family. He trusted them completely. As the war progressed, the company moved closer to the battlefront. The atmosphere changed. It became more serious. The training got harder. The stakes got higher. But Wojtek remained a constant. He was a steady presence. He was a reminder of what they were fighting for, maybe. A bit of innocence. A bit of home. The soldiers had to be careful with him. He was a bear. He was powerful. They had to teach him rules, not to scare strangers, not to, eat everything in sight. He learned to walk on a leash. He learned to ride in trucks. He learned to march with the men. He was surprisingly disciplined for a bear, but it was discipline born of love, not fear. He did it because he wanted to be with them. He wanted to please them. His reputation grew. Other Polish units heard about him. British soldiers heard about him. He became famous within the Allied forces in the Middle East. People would come to see him. They would bring treats. They would take pictures. He was a celebrity. But he was still the same Wojtek to his company. He was their bear. He was their friend. He was their soldier. They were preparing for a big move, a move to Europe. A move to the real fight. This meant a sea journey. This meant new challenges. And for Wojtek, it meant facing a very strict military rule. A rule that could separate him from his family. They had to find a way to keep him. They couldn't leave him behind. He was too important. He was one of them. The war was getting serious. The Second Corps was going to Italy. This was a big deal. They were going to fight on the front line. They were going to join the big push against the Germans. The company had to travel by ship. From Egypt, they would sail to Italy. But there was a problem. A big problem for Wojtek. Military rules were clear. No pets allowed on transport ships. No exceptions. This was a strict rule. The soldiers were upset. They couldn't leave Wojtek behind. He was their mascot. He was their friend. He was part of the unit. They couldn't just abandon him. They tried everything. They pleaded with the officers. They explained how special Wojtek was, how he boosted morale, how he caught a thief. But rules were rules. No pets. The commanding officers had to stick to the regulations. Then someone had an idea. A clever idea. What if Wojtek wasn't a pet? What if he was a soldier? If he was a soldier, he wouldn't be a pet. He would be part of the unit, officially. He could board the ship. It was a bold thought. It was a bit crazy, but it was their only hope. They went to the company commander. They made their case. They argued for Wojtek's enlistment. They talked about his loyalty, his helpfulness, his value to the company. The commander thought about it. It was unusual. It was unprecedented, but he saw the soldiers' devotion. He knew what Wojtek meant to them. And he knew the value of morale. He agreed. So, Wojtek was officially enlisted. He became a private. Private Wojtek. He was given a paybook. He was given a serial number. He was put on the company roster. He was a real soldier, on paper. This was not a joke. This was a practical solution to a serious problem. It was how they got him onto the ship. He boarded the ship with his company. He was probably a bit confused. But he trusted his men. He was with them. That was all that mattered to him. He made the journey to Italy. He was now a soldier fighting in World War II, an official one. Once in Italy, the fighting was tough. The Poles were assigned a crucial mission. They were to fight in the Battle of Monte Cassino. This was one of the bloodiest battles of the war. It was a mountain. It was heavily fortified by the Germans. It was a very hard place to capture. Many soldiers died there. It was a brutal, brutal fight. The 22nd Artillery Supply Company had a job. They transported ammunition. Artillery shells were heavy. They were big. They had to be moved from the supply areas to the gun positions, up the steep rocky slopes of Monte Cassino. This was back-breaking work. It was dangerous. German shelling was constant. The path was difficult. This is where Wojtek truly shined. He wasn't just a mascot anymore. He had a duty. A real one. He started carrying artillery shells. The men saw him watching them. They saw him helping. He would stand on his hind legs. He would hold a shell in his paws. He would walk with the men. He would carry it to the gun positions. Each shell weighed a lot. A grown man struggled with one. Wojtek could carry them. He seemed to understand the importance of what he was doing. He was calm under fire. The noise of the guns, the explosions, it didn't bother him. He just kept moving. He kept carrying. He did this for hours. He did it day after day. He helped move hundreds of shells. His actions were amazing. They were inspiring. The soldiers were exhausted. They were scared. But they saw Wojtek, a bear, carrying shells. It made them feel stronger. It made them feel braver. It boosted their spirits. It showed them that even the most unlikely helper could make a difference. He was doing his part. He was fighting the war in his own way. Because of his great service, his bravery, his help at Monte Cassino, the company decided to promote him. They made him a corporal. Corporal Wojtek. This was not just a paper rank anymore. This was a mark of respect. It was a recognition of his contribution. He earned it. He deserved it. The soldiers truly believed he was one of them. A corporal, a hero. A bear. The story of Corporal Wojtek spread, not just in his company, but through the whole Corps, even to the other Allied units. They heard about the bear who carried shells, the bear who was a corporal. It became a legendary tale. It became a symbol of the Polish spirit, resilience, and determination, and a little bit of the extraordinary. The Battle of Monte Cassino was a brutal test. It lasted for months. The Allied forces tried to take the mountain again and again. The Germans held strong. The abbey at the top was a fortress. The ground was hard. The fighting was fierce. The Polish Second Corps joined the battle in May 1944. Their task was to take the abbey. It was a near impossible mission. Casualties were high. The terrain was steep and rocky. Supplies were hard to move, especially heavy artillery shells. That's where Corporal Wojtek truly made his mark. The image of him, a massive bear, walking calmly through the chaos of war, carrying heavy artillery shells, became iconic. He was lifting a crate of 25-pounder shells, sometimes 2 at a time. The shells weighed about 50 pounds each. He could carry a lot. He would walk steady. He would not drop them. He would go right to the gun positions. The soldiers watched him. They were amazed. Some say he even understood what was happening, that he knew the importance of his work. He was never afraid of the loud explosions. He never flinched. He just kept moving. This was a huge boost to morale. It was inspiring to see a bear perform such a difficult, dangerous task. It gave the men courage. It made them feel like they could do anything. After Monte Cassino, the 22nd Artillery Supply Company changed its emblem. Their old emblem was fine, but now they had a new hero. They wanted to honor him. So, the new emblem featured a bear carrying an artillery shell. This was Wojtek. It was a permanent mark of his contribution. It was a recognition that he was not just a mascot. He was part of their identity. The battle was eventually won. The Polish soldiers finally took Monte Cassino. It was a hard-won victory, a very costly one, but they succeeded, and Corporal Wojtek was there doing his part. He was a hero in his own right. After Monte Cassino, the fighting continued in Italy. The Second Corps moved on. They continued to push north. Wojtek went with them. He continued his duties, maybe not always carrying shells, but always being a presence, to always boosting spirits, always being the unique bear soldier. His fame grew. Newspaper reports from the war mentioned him. Allied soldiers from other countries heard his story. They would seek him out. They wanted to see the bear corporal. He became a symbol of the Polish forces, a symbol of their determination and their unique spirit. The war began to wind down. The Germans were being pushed back. The end was in sight. But for the Polish soldiers, a new worry began. What would happen after the war? They couldn't go back to Poland. Poland was under Soviet control. Many chose to go to England or Scotland. They would be refugees, displaced soldiers, and what about Wojtek? He was still a bear, a very large bear. He couldn't just live in a normal home. He couldn't go back to the wild. He was too domesticated. He was too used to people. He needed a place, a safe place. The soldiers were concerned. They wanted to make sure he was looked after. He had served them well. They owed him. As the war ended, the Polish the Second Corps was transferred to Scotland. This was where many of the Polish soldiers would eventually settle. Wojtek went with them. He boarded another ship. He traveled across the sea again, this time to a different country. A country that would become his final home. In Scotland, Wojtek was still a celebrity. People heard about him. They came to see him. He was still the bear who carried shells. The bear who was a corporal, the bear who fought for freedom. He was a living legend. But soon, his military life would come to an end. His soldier friends would go on with their lives. And Wojtek would start a new one, a different one, a peacetime one. It would be a bittersweet transition. A sad farewell to his soldier days, but a new chapter. The war ended in 1945. For the Polish, the Second Corps, this meant disbandment. The soldiers were demobilized. Many of them settled in Scotland. They started new lives. They found homes. They found jobs. They tried to forget the horrors of war. But what about Wojtek? He couldn't just get a job. He couldn't go to a pub. He was still a bear. A very large, famous bear. His military career was over. His soldier days were behind him, but he still needed a home. The soldiers of the 22nd Company made a difficult decision. They couldn't keep him. It was impossible. A bear needed a special place. They found him a home. It was Edinburgh Zoo in Scotland. This was a good place for him. He would be safe. He would be cared for. He would have space. It was a sad farewell. The soldiers were deeply attached to Wojtek. He had been with them for years. He had shared their hardships. He had shared their joys. He had fought with them. It was hard to say goodbye. They brought him to the zoo. They watched him settle in. It was a quiet, emotional moment. Wojtek adapted to zoo life. He had his own enclosure. He had plenty of food. He had caretakers, but he never forgot his old friends, the Polish soldiers. Whenever an old comrade came to visit him at the zoo, Wojtek would get excited. He would recognize their voices. He would recognize their language. He would sit up. He would greet them. He would often reach out for a treat. Or just a friendly pat. He especially remembered his main caretaker, Henryk Zakarowicz. And Henryk would visit him often. He would talk to Wojtek in Polish. Wojtek would respond. He would be gentle with his old friend. He knew these men. They were his family. Even in the zoo, he was still Corporal Wojtek to them. He became a major attraction at Edinburgh Zoo. People came from all over to see him. They knew his story. The bear who fought in WWII. The bear who was a corporal. Children loved him. Adults were fascinated. He was a unique animal. A symbol of courage and an unusual friendship. Wojtek lived a long life for a bear. He died in 1963. He was 21 years old. His death was reported in the news. It was a sad day for many people, especially for the Polish veterans. They had lost a dear friend, a comrade, a hero. His legacy lives on. The story of Corporal Wojtek is still told today. There are statues of him. One is in Edinburgh, near the zoo. It shows him carrying an artillery shell. Another is in Krakow, Poland. There are plaques, there are books, documentaries, children's stories. His tale inspires people. It shows the strong bonds that can form between humans and animals. It shows the incredible spirit of a group of soldiers. So, did a Polish bear really become a corporal in WIE? Yes, he did. In a very real way. He was officially enlisted. He had a serial number. He had a rank. He was on the military payroll. This was done for practical reasons to get him on a ship, but it quickly became more than that. He earned his stripes. He carried shells at Monte Cassino. He boosted morale. He was a protector. He was a friend. The rank of corporal was a real recognition of his service. It was given to him by the men who fought alongside him, the men who loved him. It was a true honor. Wojtek was more than just a bear. He was a symbol. A symbol of hope in dark times. A symbol of the Polish spirit. A symbol of loyalty. A symbol of a truly extraordinary friendship. He was Corporal Wojtek, the soldier bear, and his story will never be forgotten. It's a reminder that even in war, there can be moments of warmth, of humanity, and of surprising friendship. It's a true story, and it's a good one.